offered to use some of the tips that he recently got at a storytelling conference. He had told his story before, but says that it didn't turn out quite the way he wanted. In today's speech, Mark will be, I got distracted by my, so anyway, I'm sorry, Mark.
All right.
But his story didn't turn out quite as well. It's about a really bad day that he had about 50 years ago. It's called Hand-Me-Down Pants. Please welcome Mark.
Madam Toastmaster, can I break tradition a little bit? And Lisa, before you start, I like to visit with my evaluator. Okay, I'm going to fill you in because you haven't heard anything about this speech and know anything about it. That makes two of us. This here, all I'm trying to do is incorporate some of our senses into a story that I've told before. And it's got a couple other things you can watch for there. So that's what we're trying to do. It turned out to be one of the roughest mornings and days I've ever had. I knew it wasn't going to go well from the minute I woke up. It was 50 years ago. The time frame was when mankind was headed to the moon and the Beatles were invading America. 1964. I was in 8th grade. And back then my mom would lay out my clothes for the day. And it was a very special day for me because I had to stand up and do a presentation. And she laid out the worst pair of pants that could ever be imagined. I call them my hand-me-down pants. They were tan, but they had been bleached so many times to get the grass stains out from what my brother had put in there that they had turned almost a white. And my mom, being real thrifty, she liked to go out and buy these nylon stretchy kind that you could have room for expansion. And these were so old that that nylon was starting to snap in places and made little tiny balls on there. And of course you've all heard of the, above the ankle type thing. Now this next, I will not exaggerate on any of this talk today, but they fit me so tight that you could see the quarter in my pocket. No. They were so tight, you could see what side was out. You gotta believe me. Believe me. So these pants were walking down the hall. 8th grade, social studies, 3rd hour. And as I approach room 13B, I see the door open with just a tremendous dread. As Toastmasters, you know that. Getting up in the morning, have to give a speech, not quite prepared, anxiety. Only this was much more. This was the first time I had to do anything like this. And as I walked closer to the room, suddenly a odor, very familiar odor, wafted my way. And I got closer and it was the familiar one that I called janitor's powder. You know what that is? When someone makes a mess, throws up, he comes in and sprinkles this, and I go, that didn't go well for the person before me. So I got in there, and I luckily had a desk towards the back of the room, took my place. Mrs. Mayhew, who was forcing this on me, said, Mark is going to stand up and do his presentation, and his topic is, how man is going to get to the moon and come back. Real hot topic, a lot of information. I had a newspaper article I read the night before. And I walked up to the front of the room. She made a stand just like this. And I tried to tell you how man was going to get to the moon and back. I didn't exactly feel too qualified. I wasn't prepared. But as I started off, I said, they went to Cape Canaveral and the rocket took off like they'd done before. But this time they went to the moon and made a few orbits, and then it separated out and landed on the moon. And then there was the plan to come back. But at this point in my talk, I realized that as speakers, I'm sure you've seen it, we can conflict. We have different ideas going on in our brain at the same time. Really weird. And I looked over, and there's Mrs. Mayhew on the front corner, just looking like the school marm that she is, just staring at me with no expression whatsoever. And I go, oh, I don't think I'm doing this right. Started just shaking. And then I looked over, and there's Becky, the cutest little girl I've ever seen. She was the cutest in class. And she was smiling. And I remember thinking, forget the moon, I think she likes me. It took a while to regroup, and oh gosh, okay, what happened? Okay, well, they were on the moon, and somehow or another they had to get to the thing that was orbiting around, and they went out and they lifted up. They didn't have as much gravity. They lifted off, they caught up with it, and then they did this thing called Renderus. They did a Renderus out there as they went around. I think I can do this. But all of a sudden, just because everything was converging on me, I felt myself just turn red as a beet. I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I just wanted to go find that empty desk and get away from these 28 faces staring at me. My grandpa used to say, you know, it can always get worse. I finished up, told him about the thing splashing in the ocean and TV crews and everybody happy and a big celebration. And I did the thing that I heard in the cartoons all my life. They call exit stage right. And I bolted out of there. I mean, I started headed straight to my desk. And as I got 2 steps away from the front, I felt this arm grab my shoulder and arm and pull me right down into her face. Mrs. Mayhew, I was 6 inches from her face. I was so close, I could see the thick makeup and how it was cracking on her face. And she said, rendezvous! Mark, it's rendezvous! I said, what are you talking about? I didn't know that. What did I do? And I was just flushing. So I made it all the way back to my desk. And I no more than got slid in and underneath the safety of my desk than this loud-mouthed boy from Texas, David McCullough, snuck up around me with a big toothy grin and said, Mark, you have a boner! A couple days go by. I'm watching TV. Mom comes out and she says, have you seen those Pan Pans? Huh? I don't know. She says, you know, you've kind of outgrown those. And I looked at her and I said, no kidding.